What is going on, all you Pokemon collecting maniacs out there? This is Ryan, the PikaPikaPaPa, and as we do every month, today we're going to be looking at the 10 cards that, according to TCGPlayer, have gained the most in value over the last 30 days. And I absolutely love this data set, and there's a couple reasons why. First off, you know I'm just always pumped up to talk Pokemon, but some of the underlying reasons is it comes straight from TCGPlayer, and a lot of us, myself included, we can have unintended biases when we're putting together content here on YouTube, right? We could really love Sword and Shield, we could really love Scarlet and Violet, we can really love certain Pokemon or sets, so we might have a tendency to over-index on our, I don't know, excitement or enthusiasm around certain cards because of that bias. But since TCGPlayer is the one who pushes this information to me, there's no bias. All I am doing is reporting what TCGPlayer is saying. Another reason I love it is because when you think about the volume of buying and selling cards, you got eBay and you got TCGPlayer. Those are pretty much the two biggest players out there. So anytime I can get information from a source like TCGPlayer and I can get it out to you directly, I think it is incredibly valuable. And just to kind of highlight why that's so cool is, look at this. When you talk about these top 10 cards right here, the diversity in age is absolutely amazing. I think everybody right now is a little over-indexed in Scarlet and Violet, and I understand why. I mean, people love watching content on Scarlet and Violet, and a lot of YouTubers out there, myself included to a certain degree, like, we want to produce content that people want to watch. I did one on XY the other day that I thought had some really cool information, got almost no views, right? Because it wasn't about what's hot in the market right now. But when you look at this, look at the diversity. This is what's actually happening in the market. So when you think about the top 10 cards that have gained the most value on TCGPlayer over the last 30 days, you have 3 cards from Sun and Moon, you have 3 cards from Scarlet and Violet, you have 2 from Black and White era, 1 from Sword and Shield, and why not drop a Japanese promo card on there just for fun? So this just goes to show you, hey, listen, sometimes there can be all kinds of awesome opportunity if you look where nobody else is don't always follow the herd, right? There's some great opportunities out there in the Pokemon market that maybe not everybody's talking about, and really that's where, you know, that's where big riches can be found in the long run. So I think that's really cool. Now, the other thing I think that's awesome about this is TCGPlayer put some parameters around the cards that are on this list. So they have to have at least 5 sales of that particular card over the last 30 days. So it can't be one sale that spikes the price and it ends up on here. So I thought that's really cool. It has to be in near mint condition, which obviously I'm a long-term collector. I want all my cards in near mint or better condition. And they have to have a jumping off point of at least $20. I think that's important too. Listen, I have nothing against the metagame, even though I'm not a player. I think it's really cool, drives a lot of collectability and people into the hobby. But when I'm thinking about long-term collecting cards that might have a little bit of investability to them or some future price growth to them, I think jumping off at $20 is a good starting point. So we're gonna have all kinds of awesome cards on this list. I cannot wait to share them with you. I always have to do my selfish plug at the beginning though. We do a ton of work here, and if you enjoy content like this, hit that subscribe button. If you have questions or comments, drop them down below. And as always, if you like what you see, give us a thumbs up. Those 3 small things go a really long way in helping my small channel out, and I really appreciate it. So with that out of the way, let's jump right into it. And one of the things that I thought was super cool is we have talked a lot about this Lillie card, and the price graph that you see right here, that is not the newest price graph. I'm going to show you that in a minute, but this is the recent price graph that we talked about here on the channel. So you know I do a lot of data warehousing. I keep track of the top 20 singles cards from all the sets that have booster boxes from Sword and Shield, Sun and Moon, XY, and Scarlet and Violet. And whenever we talk about Sun and Moon, and we've been watching it over the last year really, this Lillie card has been on a downward trajectory. However, over the last couple months, it has really started to flatten out, and it's flattened out right around that $400 mark. And we see this a lot of times, especially with the higher end, more expensive Pokemon cards. They hit these support lines, and it usually tends to be around these, I don't know, I won't call them round numbers, but it ends with a 25 or a 50, or in this case, right at 400, right? That's a round number, and the market really supported it there. And we kept saying, listen, this is a fantastic card. This is one of the main chase cards of the Sun and Moon era. This card has a good opportunity to bounce. And look what has happened over the last month. This card is actually up almost $50 over the last month. It's up 11.19%. So I thought this was a really cool card to kind of start off with. And this doesn't mean that I went out and I heeded my own advice and I bought a ton of Lillie cards at $400. Like, I have a finite amount of Pokemon funds, just like all of you do. When we go through these exercises, it's not necessarily saying, hey, go out and buy this card right now. But what it is, it's about lessons. It's about learning. It's about following the data and the trends. That way, I'm a big Gengar and Pikachu fan, right? right? If I see a Gengar card that I've always wanted or a Pikachu card that I've always wanted, and it starts to exhibit the same pattern that this Lillie card just went through, well, you never know where the bottom is, but I could still feel really good about spending my hard-earned Poké dollars on a card that I really want when it goes through a pattern like this, hoping that it'll bounce the way the Lillie card did. So again, this isn't always about rush out and buy it, but it's just about follow the patterns, learn what happens, because I think we can all take a lot away when we do stuff like that. So super pumped to have this Lillie card on here, and I was excited to share this lesson with all of you out there. Now, the next card on the list from Black and White base set right here, the Reshiram card, okay? This is another card where I have taken some lessons away from this over the last couple months, right? I told you I warehouse all that information on all these different eras. Well, if you watched my video on XY era has just been slowly and steadily chugging along with some gains. And when I saw this from Black and White, we obviously have another card from Black and White on here. We have 3 cards from Sun and Moon on here. There's some opportunity, I think, in kind of those middle ages of the Pokemon eras where, you know, not a lot of people, I don't know, it was kind of before the or after the beginning, but before all the ultra modern stuff, and I just think it's being overlooked. So I've been doing a ton of research on that recently, and when I share with you the cards that I'm going after this month, you're going to see some of them on there. But I thought this was a really cool card. Started off at $22, right? It's up 11.26%, almost up to $25. Awesome artwork from a really old set, and again, with a jumping off point of $20, I mean, such a low entry point. You really think your downside has to be protected. So excited to have this card coming in at number 2. Next one right here, the Squirtle. I've talked about it ad nauseum, not going to go too deep into it. You know I love this Squirtle. My youngest daughter, it's her favorite Pokemon. You know I love the artwork on this. 151 is a set for the ages. All of the 151 cards have performed really, really well as of late. Whatever the additional 151 sealed product that was injected into the market, it was just immediately absorbed, right? We talk about supply and demand. If the supply is high and the demand is higher, it doesn't matter. And that's exactly what happened with this 151 restock or reprint or whatever the heck it ended up being, right? The market didn't care. It absorbed it, and the singles cards have still performed really, really well. So this card right here, up almost 15%. Love the artwork, love the card, think it's an absolute stunner. Such great gains from such an amazing set. The next one right here, this Jolteon card, okay, what a cool example of a premium collection box that we identified super early. I mean, I remember I had different backgrounds, I had different cameras, I had different microphones when we were covering this last time, but we knew back then that this was going to be special, right? There was a Jolteon, there was a Flareon, there was a Vaporeon, right? And these were the Sword and Shield ones, and everybody was after them, and these promo cards were incredibly hard to get in good grades. I mean, their corners were dinged, they were murderous to try and get out of the box and get in PSA 10 holders, and it's taken a while, but they've been up, they've been down, but we're finally starting to see them bounce up in price again. And if you have all 3 of those boxes sealed, I think you have a great long-term collectible right there. So here it is right here. And again, since I shoot a lot of my content in advance, I'm going to tell you right now, you're going to see the sister card of this in a future video. And not only is the sister card doing well, but obviously this one's doing well as well. So really cool stuff to talk about, up 15.48%. Next card right here, again, the Espeon and Deoxys, another Sun and Moon promo right here. And what a cool graph. I mean, this card is up 21% over the last month, and evolutions have been really, really hot, and the Espeons particularly has been really, really hot. I mean, I think the Sylveon has been super hot. You know, there's just been a lot of excitement and movement in that space. And so when this card, again, another one that started off right in the low $20 range and is all the way up to $27.43 over the last month. Black Star promos, they traditionally do pretty well. The artwork is absolute fire. So I thought this was a really cool card. I was pumped to see it on the list. Certainly a card that wasn't on my radar until I put this video together. So just another cool takeaway, and why I love it when TCGPlayer pushes this information out to us, because I never would have thought to look at this card up 21% over the last month. Next one right here, the Mew EX, just like the Black and White card that I talked about earlier. This card has been all over our movers and shakers list, okay? Every Sunday, we get information, again, straight from TCGPlayer. They talk about the biggest movers and shakers on their website over the last week. We highlight them, we talk about them, we pontificate on them. We do it every week. This card has been on there like 2 of the last 4 weeks, and it was another great example of a big-name Pokemon in Mew with some amazing artwork from a set that has a ton of age. I mean, Legendary Treasures, that is a old set, right? And the market is just now starting to realize how awesome it is is because it has been on an absolute tear. If you look at this graph longer, obviously this is a 1 month video, but if you look at it further out, this thing is up like 64% over the last year. So really exciting to see. Not only is it up a ton over the last year, but it's maintaining that momentum, right? It is up about 25% over the last month, hitting that almost so close to $70. But again, big name Pokemon, awesome art with a little bit of age behind it. What a powerful combination, and really cool to see this card doing so well over such a long period of time. Next one right here, Latias and Latios, right? So now you might have heard about a little thing called Surging Sparks, right? And it's going to feature both of these awesome Pokemon in it. We have seen that sometimes that can drive interest in the older variants of that card. And Team Up is obviously the set from the Sun and Moon era. So you've got the set from the Sun and Moon era. You got two Pokemon which are going to be highly focused on in one of the biggest sets in at least up till now the Scarlet and Violet era, and that's a recipe for success. So no surprise that you see this card up almost 30% over the last month. Now, it didn't have a super low jumping off point. I think $60 is a pretty, that's a pretty high price point for a rainbow card like this from the Sun and Moon era, but it didn't matter. It's up over $80 now. Again, up almost 30% over the last month. So keep an eye on some of the other cards that might feature these two Pokemon because, again, with Surging Sparks coming out, we might see a resurgence and a demand for these, so it might be something to keep an eye on. Next one right here, I told you that there was going to be a Japanese promo on here, and you got the Jolteon Unagaba card right here. It's up 34% over the last 3 months. I know I've been focusing on 1 month trends, but I had to include that this wasn't just a 1 month trend. Over the last 3 months, this card has been absolutely balling out. It has been crazy. I remember when these cards came out, it almost felt like they were printed into oblivion, and then they suddenly disappeared. You just didn't see them as much. We do a grading card video here on the channel where we look at the actual card grading volume at PSA, SGC, CGC, and Beckett, and a couple months after these came out, the whole top graded singles cards was all these Unagaba cards, but then it just kind of faded off. But it's nice to see that it has had some wherewithal to it. It's been able to withstand the test of time, and now we're starting to see some pretty strong growths here. Again, that's a 3 month chart, up 34% over the last 3 months, but it's had a really good 1 month run to get it on this list. Next card right here, Earthen Vessel. I told you there was going to be some playability cards on here. Obviously, Shrouded Fable is not necessarily a set that is known for its long-term collectability as far as I'm concerned, but it certainly has some awesome cards that have a lot of playability, and this Golden Earthen Vessel card has been absolutely on fire ever since the set came out. I mean, it started off in the $50 range. It is all the way up to $67, up 36.67% over the last month. There's actually, we're going to be looking at a video in a couple days from now where you're going to see even more of these Shrouded Fable cards on here. Everybody's down on Shrouded Fable. I know I am too. I don't think it's got a whole lot of long-term value in it, but at least in the short run, the playability of some of these cards are propping up a lot of values, which is really cool for those of you out there who play the game. I love to see sets like this where it can meet the player demand as much as some of the other sets, which fulfill a little bit more of the collector demand. Love the whole thing. So with that out of the way, guess what we're getting into right now? The #1 card over the last month, and as you all know, I am low-key obsessed with Pokemon Center exclusive Elite Trainer boxes. At least I have been up until this point, and these stamped promo cards have been on absolute fire. I mean, absolute fire. Every single one of them, from Paldean Fates, right, the Mimikyu in here, to the Charmander on here, to the Pikachu, all of them have been on absolute fire. Now, I will say this, I could be losing a little bit of my love for Pokemon Center exclusive Elite Trainer boxes. Here in the US, I will tell you that Shrouded Fables is still available, right? You got Surging Sparks, which hasn't launched yet, but obviously that's still available. You got Twilight Masquerade that's still available. One of the things I loved about them early on was they would come in stock and they would sell out and they would not get restocked. So I have to keep a very close eye on how long these are going to stay in stock on the Pokemon Center, because to me, exclusivity is what is going to drive the long-term value of these. So far, I'm still in love with them. So far, I think these stamped promos are going to be a big differentiator. I think as long as you get these from an awesome set, I think if there's some playability, right, like we see in Stellar Crown right now with the stamped promo that's in there, I think that there's some opportunity there to give it some ancillary extra value to it. So we shall see. But no matter what, at least the beginning ones from Scarlet and Violet, these stamped promos are popping the heck off. This one is at almost $61. Now, you can buy a Pokemon Center exclusive Elite Trainer box from Obsidian Flames for like 90 bucks on eBay right now. So, I mean, you're getting a $61 card in there. So maybe the play is to buy some of those Elite Trainer boxes and just rip them and send this in and get it graded. And if you're lucky enough to get a 10, you're sitting at a $400, $500, $600 card. I'm not even joking. Look them up on eBay. Now, I will tell you, the gem rate for this card is incredibly low. So the odds of that happening are very small. But it is interesting to talk about the dynamic between the price of the sealed product and the stamped promo that's within it. So That's it. That's the list for this month. The 10 cards that, according to TCGPlayer, have grown the most in value over the last 30 days. I absolutely love it. I love the diversity. I love sharing the information with you. But let me know what you think in the comments down below. And if you had a ton of fun, give us a thumbs up. And while you're at it, if you haven't hit the subscribe button yet and you've been thinking about it, I'd really appreciate it if you do. You all have an epic one. I'll talk to you soon. Thanks, everybody. Bye.